Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with Matt, the mortgage guy, his Wednesday expert. How you doing, sir?
Great, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Hey, something I wanted to ask you about, because something I've been very public about the last 6 months is I've gone back to my commercial properties and accessed what I call dead money. Some people call stuck equity, whatever you want to call it. And for the reason of having dry powder ready for the future. I'm curious, when you are working with obviously residential owner occupants, are these conversations something you have, or do people think about that, or what's going on?
Yeah, people definitely do. And I think that, kudos to the one rental at a time community. I think the one rental at a time community, real estate investors, folks who are thinking about it, in my opinion, are playing more offense, right? And sometimes I think about it in offenses and defense. If you're, super averse to any risk and you just want to sit still and hope that, you can maintain on $3,300 a month in your retirement, then, that's maybe a Dave Ramsey-esque type that I don't necessarily subscribe to, right? But there's plenty of people that are realizing, hey, this largest asset that I have, most folks might have $500,000 in equity in their home. That's their biggest asset and investment anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And if it's sitting still doing nothing, the problem is a lot of people have been taught, pay that mortgage off. Things have changed.
Yeah.
When it's a 3% interest rate or 3.5%, we're still sub 4. The conversation should change, and it shouldn't just always be pay it off by any means necessary. Because at 10%, 8%, 6%, and 3.5%, it's a different conversation. So, it's certainly something that I'm assisting people with. Anybody who's on the other side that says, "Oh, that's risky," people have to be careful. I agree with that, but realize that with lending things in place to where you're going to be limited to 80% on your primary or 75% on an investment property, you're not going to get in some over levered position where you owe 105% of what the house is worth.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much in that. First and foremost, when I was kind of trying to build our wealth 20 years ago, right? Any debt that I had that was over 8%, I tried to pay off. And again, I mean, people don't realize this. My first loan was like 7 3/8. I thought that was a great rate. But now I just locked in a 3.99 refi in an office building. I'm like, so happy, right? Because I can use that money elsewhere. And the whole idea again is my opinion only. I think we have negative rates. I think we've had negative rates for quite a while, right? And it's very simple math. You take an inflation rate of 7, and you take a 30-year owner occup 3.5. That's a negative 3.5%. We have negative rates. Stop talking about rates going negative. We have them right now. So my idea is to borrow at negative rates and then either be ready for opportunities to come, because I've been investing for 20 years. I know the consumer. The next recession is going to be bad. There would be people that are over leveraged and decide to sell because they have to, because they have that locked up equity. I'm just going to be ready to deploy it. But the whole idea is you have to take action early. If I was going to keep my offices with the debt structure I had and then don't try to access it in a recession, I've had banks tell me no before, right? Basically, it's not now. So
right, yeah. When everything was rock bottom prices in 2011, 2012, I remember, I was running a small business. I wasn't even in mortgage yet. I talked to a buddy of mine and I said, "Man, how do I buy that house across the street? It's only 180." I was making a bunch of money that wasn't necessarily on paper, and my buddy's like, "You got no chance." There's not like somebody like you was probably 5x more qualified than I was. You had trouble getting financing, right? So you're exactly right. And a conversation I have with people a lot too on that same subject is, you've got this equity that you want to access, and people are saying, "Well, I don't know if I want to take it now. If I don't use it, it's just sitting there." What is the dead equity doing?
Yeah.
Right now, right? It's losing against inflation also, right? And so there's there's home equity lines of credit and there's cash out refinance. There's different ways to get the equity out of your house.
Mhm.
The things you want to think about is with the home equity line, you might be adjustable, which is risky.
Yeah.
You might be subject to them saying, oh,
Nope.
by the way, this is closed as of tomorrow.
Yeah.
And so, to truly have it ready to deploy, like I can't tell you how many people, there's, 100 that I've done where, somebody from the outside looking in might be surprised. They'll be like, that guy's got 600 grand in the bank and he just pulled 400 grand out, the cash out refinance. He doesn't need it. Right. But he's the guy that's going to have $1 million in cash when
Just in
opportunity
case.
arises.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing I'm always transparent, right? So what I'm doing is I borrowed a bunch of money from free and clear assets. I'm willing to sit on it for 2 years. I'm willing to have inflation eat at it for 2 years. If I don't find any deals to deploy it, I'll simply write a check and pay it off, right? I don't buy toys. I don't buy cars. I don't buy stupid things. I have disciplined to I will let the money sit there and pretend it doesn't exist unless I find a deal. Have that discipline. Don't buy toys.
Exactly. Yeah. It's funny. I had a YouTube comment where somebody's like, oh, everyone's taking out cash out of their homes and buying $120,000 Jeep Wranglers. I have, went through my brain and was thinking about the last 100 or so mortgages I wrote. I've had the conversation with folks. These folks aren't buying Jeep Wranglers. They're paying off high interest debt. They're remodeling their current home if they don't want to, go out and brave the market and buy something new, or they're taking that capital and reinvesting it elsewhere.
Perfect. Man, if somebody wanted to reach out and just see if it made sense for them, how do you want them to do that?
Go to greatmortgagebroker.com. Quick, simple form, where you're at, what you're looking to do. If nothing else, if you're thinking about something, talk to a mortgage broker who can just lay it out for you. Yeah. Hey, here's what it's going to look like if you pull 80,000 out. Here's what the rate's going to be. Here's what the monthly payment's going to be. That's the thing that you want to think about, in your monthly budget. If you take out cash to deploy, no matter what you're going to do with that cash, look at my payments going from 1,600 to 1,900. Where is that on a rental cash flow wise? And is it going to create an alligator? If it's your primary, can I budget an extra $400 a month? If taking this capital is going to erase like $1,100 in credit card debt, or this capital is going to buy an asset that's going to appreciate and kick off $500 a month of cash flow, whatever it is, run the numbers, do the work.
Yeah. If you need any help, I strongly recommend greatmortgagebroker.com. You want somebody on your team that's going to listen and ask questions, not like some of these freaking voicemails I get saying, oh, they're damn near illegal to some of these conversations.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's, and if you knew, I've talked to some people that have worked in call centers, right? They've literally got scripts and they have trainings around how do we fool consumers? How do we talk consumers into something that may not be in their best interest, but it gets us another closed deal? Not a good way to do business.
Not a long-term plan. Work with somebody like Matt, the mortgage guy, and his team at greatmortgagebroker.com. Thanks, buddy.
Sounds good to me.
Mm-hmm.